On March 3rd, 2025, a woman pulled her 2024 Toyota RAV4 Hybrid into my shop with a single question written on a notepad, like she had been rehearsing it the whole drive over. She slid the notepad across the counter. The note read, "How long will my battery actually last?" She had just come from the dealership. She had asked the same question there. They told her not to worry. They told her the warranty covered it. They smiled and changed the subject. She drove home, thought about it for 3 days, and then came to me. What I told her in the next 20 minutes changed the way she thought about her car permanently. And today, with the 2026 Toyota hybrid lineup rolling out across dealerships nationwide, I am going to tell you the same things I told her. Because there are 7 things Toyota dealers will not volunteer about the 2026 hybrid battery, and every single one of them affects how much money you spend, how long your car lasts, and whether you ever get caught off guard. This is not about fear. It is about information. And the difference between a driver who knows these things and one who does not is often thousands of dollars. Let me start by saying something that might surprise you. Toyota makes exceptional hybrid systems. The 2026 lineup, including the updated Camry Hybrid, the RAV4 Hybrid, the Highlander Hybrid, and the Sienna, carries forward a generation of nickel metal hydride and lithium-ion battery technology that has been refined over more than 2 decades. These are not fragile systems. They are not experimental. They are some of the most proven hybrid batteries on the road. But proven does not mean perfect. And reliable does not mean there is nothing you need to know. The dealers know exactly what they are not telling you. They are not lying. They are just not volunteering the full picture. That distinction matters because the full picture is what protects you. Thing number 1, the warranty covers less than you think, and the fine print defines everything. When a dealer quotes you the hybrid battery warranty on a 2026 Toyota, they will typically cite the federal minimum, 8 years or 100,000 miles. In California and states that follow California emission standards, that extends to 10 years or 150,000 miles for the high-voltage battery. That sounds reassuring. It is designed to. What they rarely explain is what the warranty actually covers. Toyota's hybrid battery warranty covers defects in materials or workmanship. It does not cover degradation. It does not cover capacity loss. It covers failure, not fade. Your battery can lose 20 or 30% of its original capacity. Your fuel economy can drop, your electric range can shrink, and the system can still be operating within Toyota's acceptable parameters. That is not a warranty claim. That is normal wear, and the dealer has no obligation to address it. The distinction between failure and degradation is the most important concept in hybrid battery ownership, and almost no one explains it at point of sale. You need to understand what threshold Toyota defines as a warrantable failure. Read that documentation carefully before you need it. Thing number 2. How you charge the battery determines how long it lasts, and most drivers are doing it wrong. The 2026 Toyota hybrids that use a traditional self-charging system, the non-plug-in models, manage battery state automatically. The car keeps the battery cycling between roughly 40 and 80% charge under normal operation. That is not an accident. That is intentional battery management, and it is one of the reasons Toyota hybrids age well. But plug-in hybrid models, the 2026 RAV4 Prime and the Prius Prime, introduce driver behavior into the equation. Driver behavior is where longevity either gets protected or quietly destroyed. Lithium-ion batteries age fastest at the extremes. Consistently charging to 100% and then depleting to near zero is the fastest way to accelerate capacity loss. Toyota's own battery management software is designed to soften those edges, but it can only do so much if you are fighting it. The recommendation that dealers almost never give you at the lot: charge to 80% for daily use. Reserve full charges for long trips. Do not leave the battery sitting at maximum charge for extended periods. This single habit can meaningfully extend the usable life of the high-voltage battery. It is not complicated. It is just never mentioned when you are signing paperwork. Thing number 3. Temperature is the invisible enemy, and where you live matters more than how you drive. Battery chemistry reacts to heat and cold in ways that do not show up immediately, but compound over years. The 2026 Toyota hybrid battery is thermally managed, meaning the system actively works to keep the battery within its optimal operating range. But thermal management has limits. In climates where ambient temperatures regularly exceed 95 degrees Fahrenheit for extended periods, battery degradation accelerates. This is a documented phenomenon across all lithium-ion and nickel-metal hydride chemistries. Repeated heat exposure stresses the cells. It accelerates the chemical reactions inside the battery that break down capacity over time. Phoenix is harder on a hybrid battery than Portland. That is simply true. Cold climates create a different problem. In extreme cold, battery efficiency drops temporarily, but repeated cold starts and cold weather operation can also stress cells if the battery thermal management system is not given time to operate. Very short trips in very cold weather, where the battery never reaches operating temperature, add stress over thousands of cycles. Dealers will not tell you this because it would make certain buyers in certain regions think twice. What it should do instead is inform how you manage the car. Park in shade or garages when possible in hot climates. Allow the vehicle to warm up before demanding full hybrid performance in extreme cold. These are simple habits that protect an expensive component. Thing number 4. The 12-volt auxiliary battery will fail long before the high-voltage battery, and it can take the whole system down with it. This is the one that catches almost every hybrid owner off guard. Your Toyota hybrid has 2 batteries. Everyone knows about the big one, the high-voltage hybrid battery. Almost nobody talks about the 12-volt auxiliary battery, and dealerships certainly do not lead with it. The 12-volt battery powers the car's computer systems, the hybrid control module, and the startup sequence that brings the high-voltage system online. It is a conventional lead-acid battery, usually in the trunk or under the hood depending on the model. And it behaves like every conventional lead-acid battery ever made. It ages, it weakens, it fails. When the 12-volt battery in a Toyota hybrid fails, the car may not start at all. It can produce a cascade of warning lights. It can trigger fault codes in the hybrid system that look alarming and expensive. Dealers will diagnose this as a $150 battery replacement. But if the driver went to a general shop that was not familiar with Toyota hybrids, the same symptoms could generate a much larger and entirely unnecessary repair estimate. The 2026 Toyota hybrids still use this 2-battery architecture. The 12-volt auxiliary battery typically needs replacement between 4 and 7 years, depending on climate and usage patterns. Monitor it proactively. Replace it before it fails. It is inexpensive insurance against a very expensive-looking problem. Thing number 5. Regenerative braking means your traditional brake pads can outlast 2 sets on a conventional car, but your brake fluid still needs attention. One of the genuine advantages of Toyota hybrid ownership is brake longevity. Regenerative braking captures kinetic energy and converts it back into electrical energy instead of heat. This means the friction brakes engage far less often than on a conventional vehicle. Owners who understand this are often shocked when a mechanic tells them their brake pads need replacement at 30,000 miles on a hybrid. That is a red flag worth questioning. Well-driven Toyota hybrids in urban environments often see brake pads lasting 80,000 to 100,000 miles or more. That is real money saved over ownership. But here is what dealers often omit. Because the friction brakes are used less frequently, brake fluid tends to absorb moisture more slowly through normal brake application heat cycles. That sounds like good news. The problem is that brake fluid still absorbs atmospheric moisture over time regardless of usage. On hybrid vehicles where brakes are used less, drivers sometimes go years without brake fluid service, assuming infrequent use means the fluid stays clean. It does not work that way. Moisture contamination in brake fluid lowers its boiling point and promotes corrosion in the brake system. Toyota recommends brake fluid service every 2 to 3 years, regardless of mileage. That interval exists for a reason. Do not skip it because your pads look fine. Thing number 6. Software updates can meaningfully change how your hybrid battery behaves, and most owners never receive them. Modern Toyota hybrids are software-driven systems. The hybrid control module, the battery management system, and the powertrain control module all run on software that Toyota updates over time. These updates can recalibrate how the battery charges and discharges. They can adjust thermal management parameters. They can change how the system prioritizes electric versus combustion operation. Some of these updates improve performance. Some protect battery longevity. Some address behaviors that engineers identified after vehicles entered real-world operation. Toyota issues technical service bulletins and software updates regularly. Most owners never know these exist unless they bring their car to a dealer for service and the technician proactively applies them. Before your next service visit, ask specifically, are there any outstanding software updates for my hybrid control system or battery management module? That question costs nothing to ask. The updates themselves are covered under warranty, but they will not be volunteered automatically if the technician is focused on completing the scheduled service and moving to the next car. This is not conspiracy. It is simply the reality of how high-volume dealership service operates. You have to advocate for complete service. Thing number 7. Battery reconditioning exists, and it can recover real capacity before you spend money on replacement. This is the one that dealers have the strongest financial incentive not to discuss with you. If your Toyota hybrid battery has been diagnosed with reduced capacity or degraded performance, replacement is not always the only option. Battery reconditioning is a legitimate process that uses controlled charge and discharge cycles to restore capacity in aging nickel metal hydride cells. Not every battery responds, not every case is suitable, but many hybrid batteries that would otherwise be quoted for full replacement can be reconditioned for a fraction of the cost. Independent hybrid specialists have been performing this service for years. It is not experimental. It is not a workaround. It is a genuine maintenance procedure with documented results. The reason dealers do not offer it is straightforward. A reconditioned battery generates far less revenue than a replacement battery. A replacement high-voltage battery on a Toyota hybrid can cost anywhere from $2,000 to $4,500, depending on model and whether remanufactured units are used. Reconditioning that same battery at a qualified independent shop often costs a few $100s. The 2026 models that use nickel metal hydride chemistry, including certain Camry hybrid configurations and the standard Prius, are more amenable to reconditioning than lithium-ion variants. Lithium-ion packs have less predictable responses to reconditioning, and individual cell replacement is often more appropriate. Understanding which chemistry your specific 2026 model uses and what your options are before you need them puts you in a fundamentally different position than the driver who walks in without that knowledge. The woman who handed me that notepad question drove away 30 minutes later with answers she had wanted from the beginning. She knew when her warranty actually applied and when it did not. She knew how to charge her car in a way that protected its most expensive component. She knew the 12-volt battery was the one to watch in the short term. She knew to ask about software updates. She knew reconditioning was an option she had never been offered. None of that information was secret. It was just never volunteered. The 2026 Toyota hybrid lineup represents genuinely excellent engineering. These are capable, efficient, dependable vehicles. But owning one intelligently means understanding what the engineering demands from you in return. The drivers who know these 7 things will spend less, stress less, and keep their vehicles performing longer than those who trust that a dealer's silence means there is nothing left to know. There always is. If this changed how you think about hybrid ownership, hit like so other Toyota owners see it before they need this information instead of after. Subscribe for weekly breakdowns that give you knowledge before the problem finds you. And if you have ever been surprised by something your dealer never mentioned about your hybrid, drop it in the comments. Those stories are exactly why this channel exists.